Today I'm going to populate my item description for my cap screws with our tool here in DFR called the description generator. Notice my item description is blank throughout this category. So the description generator is located in the classification manager. In the classification manager, you'll always be prompted to the attribute screen first, but we need to go all the way over to category processing. The first screen that you're going to see will always be the description template validator, but I'll speak a little bit more about that later. We need to pull the drop down and select description generator. As you see, there is a template in here from something previous, but I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to say right here on the green plus, that is to create a new description. And so now with all these numbers, I'm going to type cap screw item description. Before you can go any further, you do have to save the template. One thing I want to note before I go any further is that I chose the item description particularly because it is the only attribute that you do not have an option to choose in this list. The rest of these are going to target, for example, the alternate part number or the brand attribute, and the descriptions generated would apply to that attribute. The item description is not an option. So, for example, if you were to use brand and you wanted to generate descriptions within brand, you would come down to insert and target. And then you see it says TA brand. That means target attribute brand. But I want, like I said, to target my item description. So that is going to be TD for target description. And I'll close that bracket. And now I'm ready to move further. So now I get to choose from this lovely list of the attributes I would like to make up my description. So I'm going to start with modifier. I find modifier is probably a good one to start out with as it starts telling what this item actually is. So I'll say modifier and then insert. So there are a few options here. I'm only going to cover about 3 of them. We will have an advanced video that is going to be put out at a later date that will cover the rest, but I'm just going to inform you of name, value, value with UOM, name value, obviously we went over target, and then abbreviation. Going a little bit backwards, the abbreviation, I don't have anything set up for, but abbreviations are set up in the allowed values section of Smart Class, where you have the option to put in for example, resistor and then an abbreviation RES. That is where the description generator would pull an abbreviation in. So it will not automatically abbreviate. It has to be set up in the allowed values manager. So name, I never suggest using because it will not use the name as in the value of the attribute. It is going to say simply modifier. It is saying the name of the attribute, which is modifier, not the value, which is cap. I do, however, want to use the value. You can also do name and value, which will say modifier / cap in this case because of cap screws. So like I said, I'm going to use the value because I do want to have my description made up of information within the attribute values themselves. So I'll start with value. Now, in between each of these attribute values, you can use a comma, a semicolon, you can use a hyphen, you can type and or whatever you may want to do, but if you do not put at least a space in between the attributes, they will all be kind of squished together and very difficult to read. I myself like to use commas. So now I'm going to keep on going down my list. Now that I have modifier, I think I'll use noun. Again, I'm going to insert just the value of that. Now, I think length might be a good one to use, so I will go to length. Now, this is a good example of the value with UOM. So that was grayed out earlier. It was not an option on my string attributes before. But when you are dealing with a numeric attribute, you will get a list of units of measure. So I can choose from here and it will automatically populate that for me. So if I do centimeter, you see it says AVWC or UWC. Anyway, this means that it is an attribute value with units of measure. So if you do already have it set up, you will have that list. If for some reason, let's remove that. If for some reason the same thing, but you don't have it set up as a numeric, maybe it's set up as a string, but you just want to get this done now, you can put in just the value and then keep going. So whether it's inch, foot, centimeter, whatever it may be, and then keep going because the centimeter that I typed in will add on to like right after the length. So I'm going to go ahead and take that back and keep going down the list. I think I'll do head type. We'll insert that value. And I think lastly, manufacturer name. And I'll enter that value. So now I want to save my template. And notice we're in configure up here on the top right. Now I need to go into run since I have my cap screw item description template saved. So I'll select run. And now here's our overview and sort of our final submittal. So I can see my category up here on the top, cap screws. I will see, again, my category and then the template. I will say you cannot change the template from here, but you have a few options down below. You see I'm expanding the template name list and I do see both of my templates, but if, for example, you did not see it, then you would be able to go back to our template validator where you would simply select validate. Notice that nothing comes up here because my templates are correct, but if you do not have anything in that drop-down list, your template will show up here and it will have an error. At the bottom, it will list what the error is. In my experience, I've had numerics that were not set up the right way in Smart Class, and so it flagged it as not being able to use that attribute. So you will see the list, and then you have the option to fix, remove, go to the next error, etc. So I'm going to go back into my description generator. And now that I do have my cap screw item description, our only option here is the as is system of measurement, so we're going to leave that alone. You can provide descriptions by batch, for example. That is an option that you would select right here. If you're only working on a few items, maybe you have descriptions for 500 items, but there's 50 new that you want to work on without overriding anything else. You can put those 50 in a batch, and then we can select that batch, and it will only focus on that. Down here, my options are in work, pending, approved, meaning that my description generator is going to generate descriptions for all of my items that are in work, pending, or approved. I do like that function. Just below it, it says in work only, meaning that it will not affect any of the attributes, any of the items that are approved, pending, or rejected. It will only generate descriptions for items that are in work only. Lastly, restrict to my items only. This means I can only generate descriptions for items that are assigned to me. For example, if I am on a team and there are 500 parts and 150 of them belong to me, I can restrict to my items only, and only my items will get the descriptions. The remaining items will not have descriptions run on them at all because they are assigned to other users or they are just unassigned in general. For me, I'm not going to select this because I don't need it. So now I'm going to have my cap screws have the item description generated for anything in work, pending, and approved. And I will select run. That was pretty fast. Generated 113 descriptions. So now I will say done. We could stop from there, but I like to check my work. So I'm going to go back into the data developer. and I will retrieve the new information. And as you can see here, the item description has been set up with my modifier, my noun, my length, head type if applicable, which it does not look like I have in my first one, and then train US Inc. And that is how you utilize the description generator.